We continue now at the top of Daf Yomi Gemara and Meseches Yoma. This is Yoma Daf 53b. The Gemara said in the previous Amma that is a form of respect. When Rava would leave Rav Yosef, he would walk out backwards, but he wouldn't watch where he was going, so he'd even injure his legs. So Amru Leila Rav Yosef, so they told Rav Yosef, Hachi Avid Rava, this is what Rava is doing. Rashi says, Shuhaya Ma'ore Nayim. Rav Yosef was blind, Ve'enu Makar B'davar, he didn't know what was going on. So Amar Lei, so he said to him, Yehei Rava de Terom Reisha Chakula Karcha. It should be Hashem's will that you should be the Rosh Hashiva over the whole city. Your head should be lifted over the whole city. Rashi says, Terom Reisha Chtia Rosh Yeshivas Hakrach. You should be the head of the yeshiva of the city. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Alexandri, Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Rabbi Alexandri says in the name of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, HaMispalel Tzarech Sheyafsia Shalosh Pesios La'achorav. When a person is davening the Shemona Esrei, in other words, the person should take at the end 3 steps backwards, v'achar kach yiten shalom, and then he should say shalom. Amar le Rav Mordechai, so Rav Mordechai said to him, Kevan shepasa shalosh psios la'achorav, once he takes those 3 steps back, hasam iboy le'lamekam, he should stay in that spot. He shouldn't quickly return to his original spot, walk forward. Mashal l'talmud hanifter me'rabo. The comparison is to a student who leaves his Rebbe. Im chozer li'alter, if he would just walk back right away, immediately forward, dom l'kelev shashav al keo. It's like a dog who returns to his vomit, meaning it's as if you're uprooting that which you did. You walked backwards in a respectful manner, now you just walk forward again. It's like you take away the respect that you just gave. Tanya na mihach, we have a brisa like this as well. HaMispalel tzarech she'afsia shalosh psios la'achorav. Person's davening, he has to take 3 steps back. V'achar kach yiten shalom, and then he should say shalom. V'im lo asakain, if he doesn't do that, roy lo shalo hispalel. It's better that he didn't daven at all, as Rashi over here says. Kolomar noach hoya lo im lo hispalel. It would have been better for him not to daven. Kamo roy lo shalo bali olam, like a saying, better that he shouldn't have come to the world at all. In that situation, better that you don't have the tefillah. Umisham Shmaya Amru, and in the name of Shmaya they said, Shenosin shalom liyamin v'achar kach l'smol, that when he's giving shalom, after he takes back the 3 steps, first he goes to the right side, he bows to the right side, then to the left side. Shenemar, like it says, miyamino eish das lamo. It says from his right side, he gave the fire of the law, he gave the Torah. You see the right is more chashiv. V'yomer, in the pasuk also says, Hipol mitzidcha elef, from your side there should fall 1,000. Urevava miminecha, but 10,000 from your right. Again, you see that the right side is more important. The Gemara says, "My v'yomer." What's the v'yomer? Why do you need an additional pasuk? You already have a pasuk. So the Gemara says, "V'chitema orcha demilsehi lemesav v'yamin," because maybe you'll say that the pasuk of miyamino h das lamo, that's just the normal way you give something with the right hand. Tashma. So when we bring the other pasuk coming here, Yipol mitzilcha elef or vava miminecha, the second pasuk tells us no, it's not just that that's the normal way to do it. That pasuk is really saying again, the right is more chashiv. You should bow to the right first. Rava chazil abaya do you have shalom liyamina beresha. Now Rava saw they changed the girsa over here to Rabba. The Meseches Hashas says some have. Rabba saw that Abaya was first giving shalom to the right side. Amar lei, so he said to him, Misavrit liyamin didach. Do you think that we meant to say to your right? L'smol didach kamina. What I was saying was you go to your left to have a yamino shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because that is the right side of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, when we say you give shalom or you bow to the right side, it means to the right side of HaKadosh Baruch Hu who's facing you, which really is to your left side. Amar Rav Chia Breider Rav Huna, Rav Chia Breider Rav Huna said, Chazino luhu le'Abaye v'Rava depasi lu shalosh psios b'kriya achas. When I saw Abaye and Rava taking these 3 steps, they did it with one bow. In other words, they didn't stand up. They didn't stand upright between each step. They kept in the bowing position with the 3 steps back. And the Gemara continues at the 2 dots, quoting the Mishnah, U'mispalil tefillah ketzar beveis hachitzon. It said in the Mishnah that the Kohen Gadol davens a short tefillah beveis hachitzon outside the area of the Kodesh Kadoshim. My matzli, so what did he daven? Rava bar Ravada v'Ravin bar Ravada tarvayu mishmei derav Amri. Rava bar Ravada and Ravin bar Ravada, they both say in the name of Rav as follows, Yehirazim l'fanecha Hashem Elokeinu, shetehei shana zu geshuma u'shechuna. He says it should be your will, God, that this year should be rainy and hot. So the Gemara says, Shechuna mal yusay, is it good that it's hot? Elaim, rather, the text of the prayer was, Im shechuna, if it is hot, tehei geshuma, let it be rainy, that way the crops will not be ruined. Rav Acha Breider Rava Messiah ba Mishmei Rav Yehuda. Rav Acha, the son of Rava, would finish the tefillah in the name of Rav Yehuda as follows: Lo yedei avid shultan midabeis Yehuda. The rulership should not leave from the house of Yehuda. V'lo yiyu amcha Yisrael tzrichin lefarnei zeh mizeh. Your nation Yisrael should not need parnasa one from the other, meaning the land, the fruits of the land should sustain them. V'lo tikanis lefanecha tfilas ovrei drachim. And also you should not pay attention to the prayers of those who are traveling, meaning they don't want it to rain, but really we want there to be rain because we want there to be a successful crop. Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa have a ka'azal b'orcha. Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, the Gemara says, was once walking on the road. Shadra mitra aleh, it was raining. Amar, he said, Ribbono shel olam, master of the world, kol olam kula benachas v'chanina b'tzar. Everyone else should be in a pleasurable situation, meaning they're all inside, they're not bothered by the rain, but I, Chanina, should be in pain. So pasak mitra, so Hashem heard his prayer, and the rain stopped. When he got to his house, Amar, he said, Ribbono shel olam, master of the world, kol olam kula b'tzar. Everyone should be in pain, meaning there's no rain. V'chanina benachas, and Chanina should have pleasure, meaning the rain stopped, but it harmed everybody else because it's bad for the crops. So then also mitra, so then it began raining again. Amar Rav Yosef said, Ma'ahanyu salusa de Kohen Gadol l'gabe Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. What does it help the prayer of the Kohen Gadol compared relative to the prayer of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, meaning his prayer outweighs even that of the Kohen Gadol? And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Maisa b'Kohen Gadol echad. There was once a story with one Kohen Gadol, sheherich betfilaso. He was lengthy in his prayer. V'nimnu echav hakohanim likonis acharav. And so his brethren, the Kohanim, they took a vote, and they decided they have to go in after to make sure everything's okay. His chilohem nechnasin v'hu yotze. So they began to go in, and he was coming out. Amrulo, they said to him, why were you so lengthy in your prayers? Amar Lahem, he said to them, is it difficult to you that I davened for you and I davened that the Beis HaMikdash should not be destroyed? Amrulo, they said to him, don't do that regularly. Because it was taught, so that he was not lengthy in his prayer, in order not to alarm Klal Yisrael. And we will take a look at one Rashi over here. V'chanina benachas, he says that Chanina, it's fine for me that there's no rain. Rashi here says, she'ein li zriya basados, because Rabbi Chanina had nothing planted in the fields anyway, so he wasn't bothered personally by the fact that there was no rain. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Mishanit al Aron, from when the Aron was taken away, during the times, again, the first Beis HaMikdash, the Aron was hidden away. Evan hoisa sham yemos neviim rishonim. So there was a stone there in the Kodesh Kadashim from the days of the early Nevi'im. Ushasiya hoisa nikras. It was called the Evan Shasiya. Gavom min haaretz shalosh etzbos. It was 3 etzbos, 3 finger breadths higher than the rest of the ground over there. Violeo haya nosin. It was upon this, on this stone, that he placed the ketores. Then natalas hadam imisha haya b'marisbo. Then he took the blood from the Kohen who was stirring the blood. This is referring to the blood of the par. Nichnas l'makam shenichnas v'yamed b'makam she'amad. He entered the Kodesh Kadashim, the same place he was, stood in the same place that he was before. V'hizam imenu, and then he sprinkled from that blood, achas lamala, 1 up above, v'sheva lamata, and 7 downward. V'lo yemeskavin lahazos lo lamala v'lo lamata. And it's not that he was having kavana to sprinkle 1 above a certain point of the Aron and then the others below a certain point of the Aron. That wasn't the idea. Ela kamatzlif, it was just like a whip, meaning he did it in a downward motion, one right below the other. And he counted it off as follows. Achas, he said, 1 time sprinkling. Achas v'achas, achas v'shtayim, achas v'sholosh, achas v'arba, achas v'chomesh, achas v'shesh, achas v'sheva. That's how he counted these 7 or 8 sprinklings. Again, 1 lamala and 7 lamata. Yotze v'yinicho al kan hazav shebeichol. He then went out and he put this blood, he placed it, the bowl of blood, on a golden stand that was in the heichal. Heviulo asasor. Then they brought him the goat. Shachtu, he shechts the goat. V'kivo memizrek asdamo, and then he receives in the basin, in the bowl, the blood of the soyer. Nichnas l'makom shenichnas v'yamad b'makom shamad. Enters the same place, stands in the same place in the Kodesh Kadashim. V'hizum imenu achas lamala v'shava lamata. Does the same thing. Sprinkles 1 up, 1 high, and then 7 lower. V'kach hayamon, and he counts it off. Achas v'achas, achas u'shtayim v'chulu. The same system of counting as before. He then leaves the Kodesh Kadashim and he places that second bowl with the blood of the soyer on a second stand that was in the heichal that was made out of gold. Rabbi Yehuda says, Lo haya shama l'kan echad. There was only 1 stand, bilvad, kan echad bilvad. There was only 1 stand. Nazal dam hapar. He took off the blood of the par, v'hiniach dam hasar, and then he placed down the blood of the goat. V'hizam imenu ala paroches. Now he began to sprinkle that blood on the paroches, on the curtain which separated the Kodesh and the Kodesh Kadashim. Shegeneged ha'aron mibachutz. He stood opposite the Aron from the outside of the Kodesh Kadashim. Achas lamala v'sheva lamata. Again, sprinkle 1 up, 7 down. V'lo yemeskavin v'chulu. It's the same exact thing. V'kach hayamonu v'chulu. Again, he didn't have kavana for any particular place up and down, and he counted off in the same fashion. Nadal dam hasar v'niach dam hapar. He now took the blood of the sar, put down the blood of the bull. V'hizam imenu ala parocha shekeneged aron mivachutz achas lamala v'sheva lamata v'chulu. Did the exact same sprinkling system with the dam hasar that he just did with the dam hapar. And then the Mishnah finishes, ira dam hapar l'soch dam hasar. He now pours the blood of the bull into the blood of the soyer, and then pours from the full bowl back into the empty bowl, meaning he's mixing well the blood together. And we'll take a look at some Rashis over here. Rashi says, when he's sprinkling the blood towards the yarn, he doesn't have kavanah to go above or below, meaning he's not specifically having kavanah that some of the blood goes above, kind of above the top of the kaporis, and some goes below, because the blood isn't even going to touch the kaporis. It's going to fall to the ground. He's not even kavanah for certain points along the yarn. It's like a whip. Beshura zu tachazu, meaning it's like a row, one right below the other. Kol shmona hazos, all 8. You just do one sprinkling right below the other. Kematzlif lo yadati lashon. Rashi says, I don't know exactly where the word matzlif comes from. And then Rashi continues over here and says, ala parochas, he does the same procedure, sprinkling the blood on the parochas, k'dechsiv, like it says, v'chein yasa lo ol moed. It says you should do similarly to the ol moed. And then it said, ira dam hapor, he mixes the blood together. K'dechsiv v'matanos ha-mizbeach, because now he's also going to do matana of the blood on the mizbeach. And it says over there, v'lokach midam hapar umidam hasar. He takes from the blood of the par and the blood of the goats. Midam shnehen yachtav. The idea is he takes from the blood that's all mixed together. You see, he needs to mix the blood. V'nasan hamali, he pours from the full bowl to the empty bowl. The Gemara mefarish chozer ma'ara mizrak mali l'socha reikon. The Gemara will explain you're pouring from the full bowl to the empty one, kedei la'arvan yof, in order that they should be mixed together well. And the Gemara over here says, misha nignaz lo katani. It doesn't say in the Mishnah that the arn was stored away. Now, we actually mentioned earlier that the arn was stored away, but that's not what it actually says here in the Mishnah. It says the arn was taken. And so the Gemara says, Ela misha nital tanan. The language of the Mishnah is that the arn was taken. Command Amr, this actually follows the opinion that says Aron Gala LeBavel, that the Aron was exiled to Bavel. The Tanya, because we learned in a Brayser, Rabbi Eliezer says, Aron Gala LeBavel, the Aron was exiled to Bavel, Shenemar, like the Pasuk says, V'leshuvas Hashana, Sholach HaMelech Nebuchadnezzar, V'yiviyeu Bavelim Kli Chemdas Beis Hashem. It says that Nebuchadnezzar took it with the vessels of the Beis HaMikdash. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says, Aron Gala LeBavel, the Aron was exiled to Bavel, Shenemar, like the Pasuk says, Lo Yivasar Davar Amar Hashem, nothing was left, so says Hashem. Elu Aseres Hadibros Shabo, that's a reference to the Aseres Hadibros. And Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai over here is learning from the word Davar, that's the idea of Aseres Hadibros. And Rashi over here says, Im Kleichem hu Aron. The pasuk, when it says Kleichem das, which is the first pasuk we brought, that's a reference to the Aron again. So these psukim are referencing the fact that the Aron was exiled to Bavel. And the Brisa continues, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda says, Aron b'makomo nignaz, the Aron was hidden away in its place. Shenamar, like the pasuk says, Vayiru Rashi Abadim and Hakodesh al Pnei Adavir, v'lo yiru achutza. It says you couldn't see the poles of the Aron outside of the area of the Kodesh Kadoshim. Vayu sham ad hayom hazeh, and they are there until this day, meaning they're in Geniza over there in that area until this day. And the Gemara continues, Upliga de Ula, and this Brisa argues with Ula, meaning the Brisa gives the opinion of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai that the Aron was exiled to Bavel, and Ula has a different version of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, the Amar Ula, because Ula says, Shoal Rabbi Masio ben Choresh as Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Rabbi Masio ben Choresh asked Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai the following question, Baromi in Rome, if Rabbi Eliezer already taught us from two separate psukim, Aron Gala LeBavel, that the Aron was exiled to Bavel. Rishona HaDiamron, what's the first pasuk? We already said it. Vayiviyeu Bavelim Kleichem das Beis Hashem. And Shnia Mahi, what's the second pasuk? Dichsiv, like the pasuk says, Vayetzi mi Bas-Sion. It went out from Bas-Sion, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Dalid Amud Aleph.